I was sitting on my couch Thursday evening, tie loosened after a long day showing properties, when my phone lit up with a notification from the family group chat. Mom's message appeared. "Don't come to the wedding. You and your kids just make things awkward." My sister Amanda reacted with a laughing emoji, then another. Then Craig, my brother, joined in. More laughing faces flooded the screen. My heart dropped into my stomach as I remembered something they'd all forgotten. I'd been paying for the wedding venue on my credit card for 3 months. I typed back, "Then you won't need my card for the venue." The group chat exploded with more laughter. They thought I was bluffing. They had no idea what was coming. I stared at my phone as the laughing emojis multiplied like some kind of cruel digital mockery. The screen wouldn't stop buzzing. Message after message poured in, each one more dismissive than the last. Amanda typed, "Sure, Damien, whatever helps you sleep at night." Mom chimed in, "Always so dramatic, just like your father." That one stung. Dad had been gone for 18 months, and she was already using his memory as a weapon against me. Then Craig joined the fun. "Dude, nobody wants your charity anyway." I set the phone down and walked to my kitchen, hands shaking. The apartment felt too quiet, too empty. Jackson and Sophie were with their mom this week. My kids, 8 and 6 years old. They loved their grandmother, their aunt, their uncle. And now those same people were telling me we made things awkward, that we weren't welcome at a family wedding. I pulled out my wallet and found the credit card. The one I'd stupidly put the venue deposit on 3 months ago when Amanda had called me in tears. She'd begged. Said Derek, her fiancé, was from a poor family and couldn't afford the dream wedding she'd always wanted. Could I just put down the deposit? She'd pay me back monthly. Promise. I'd received exactly 0 payments. I opened my laptop and pulled up the credit card statement. $23,000. That's what the venue had charged so far. I'd been covering the minimum payments, watching the interest pile up while my sister planned her perfect day. I was already struggling. The divorce from Christine 2 years ago had wiped me out financially. Commercial real estate paid well when deals closed, but commission work meant feast or famine. Lately, it had been more famine than anything else, but I'd helped anyway, because that's what family does, right? And Mom had made sure I knew it. Your sister only gets married once, Damien. Don't be selfish like your father was. I picked up my phone and dialed the credit card company. The automated system tried to route me through menus, but I kept pressing 0 until I got a real person. "This is Marcus. How can I help you today? I need to cancel authorization for charges from Riverside Manor events." "One moment, sir." Keys clicked in the background. "I see several charges from that vendor. Are you disputing these?" "Not yet. I just want to make sure no future charges go through." "I can place a block on that vendor. Let me just verify. There's a pending charge of $12,000 scheduled to process in 3 days. That will be declined. Is that correct?" My stomach twisted. $12,000. The final venue payment. The wedding was in 2 weeks. Without that payment, there'd be no wedding. "Yes, that's correct. Done. Is there anything else I can help you with today?" "No, thank you." I hung up and sat in the silence. Part of me felt sick. Part of me felt free. I'd just nuked my sister's wedding. But she'd stolen from me first, hadn't she? And then told me my kids and I weren't welcome. The group chat had gone silent. 30 minutes passed. I made myself a sandwich I couldn't eat. Then my phone exploded. Amanda called first. I answered. "What did you do?" She was screaming so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. "The venue just called. They said the payment was declined. You're sabotaging my wedding. You're a terrible brother. I hate you. I hate you." She hung up before I could respond. Mom called next. I considered not answering, but some masochistic part of me wanted to hear what she'd say. "How dare you do this to your sister on her special day?" Her voice was ice. "You are not my son. Don't ever contact this family again." Click. Craig sent a text. "Always knew you were selfish. Dad would be ashamed." I was about to turn off my phone when it rang again. Unknown number. "Hello? Is this Damien Fletcher?" "Yes. This is Patricia Patterson from Riverside Manor Events. I'm calling regarding your credit card on file for the Amanda Fletcher wedding. I canceled authorization for charges. Yes, I'm aware. But I need to ask you something. Are you aware that your sister has been using your card for additional services beyond the venue rental? My blood went cold. What do you mean additional services? Mr. Fletcher, according to our records, your card has been charged for a catering upgrade, premium open bar package, honeymoon suite, and rehearsal dinner. The total comes to $41,000. I couldn't breathe. 41,000? Yes. Miss Fletcher told us that you owned the parent company of our venue, that you were taking care of all expenses as a wedding gift. She had us charge everything to your card over the past several months. I don't own anything. I'm a commercial real estate agent. I put down a venue deposit as a favor. That's it. Mrs. Patterson was quiet for a moment. I see. Mr. Fletcher, I think you may want to review your credit card statements very carefully, and you might want to speak with our fraud department. After she hung up, I pulled up my full credit card history. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely scroll. Charges going back 5 months, flowers from some boutique place, photography, videography, wedding cake from a fancy bakery, things I'd never discussed with Amanda, things I'd never approved. She'd stolen over $50,000 from me, and when I tried to stop her, she told me I wasn't welcome at the wedding. My own mother told me I wasn't her son anymore. I sat there in my kitchen until midnight, staring at those numbers, and realized my family had been using me this entire time. I was just a credit card to them, a bank account with legs. And when I finally said no, when I finally stood up for myself, they cast me out like I was the villain. Friday morning, I called my credit card company again. This time I asked for the fraud department. The representative, a woman named Jennifer, listened to everything. The unauthorized charges, Amanda's lies to vendors, the total amount. When I finished, she was silent for a moment. Mr. Fletcher, this is definitely fraud. I'm opening an investigation immediately. All charges will be frozen pending review. You won't be responsible for any amount we determine was unauthorized. What happens to my sister? If our investigation confirms fraud, we'll pursue criminal charges. This isn't a small amount. We're talking about felony theft. I thanked her and hung up. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt hollow. I'd just set in motion something that could send my sister to jail. But what choice did she leave me? My phone started ringing within the hour. I ignored the calls. Amanda, Mom, Craig, even some aunts and uncles I barely spoke to. I let them all go to voicemail. Then I made the mistake of checking social media. Amanda had posted a long message on her public page. I can't believe what my brother is doing to me. He's trying to ruin my wedding because he's jealous that I found love after his marriage fell apart. I've been nothing but kind to him, and this is how he repays me. Please keep Derek and me in your prayers during this difficult time. It had 300 likes already. Comments poured in. I'm so sorry you're dealing with this. Some people can't handle other people's happiness. Cut him off. You don't need that negativity. My jaw clenched. She was painting herself as the victim, making me the villain to everyone who knew us, and nobody was asking for my side of the story. Over the next few hours, my phone rang with calls from extended family. Aunt Marie, Uncle Rob, cousins I hadn't seen in years. Every single one of them called to tell me what a terrible person I was. How could I do this to sweet Amanda? Didn't I care about family? Why was I so bitter and angry? I tried to explain to a few of them, showed Aunt Marie the credit card statements when she came to my apartment, actually demanding I apologize. She looked at the numbers, then looked at me. You probably gave her permission and forgot. You're so stressed from the divorce, Damien. Just pay for the wedding and stop causing problems. She left without listening to another word. By evening, I was exhausted, emotionally drained. I'd been called selfish, bitter, jealous, cruel, and vindictive more times than I could count. Not one person had asked if I was okay. Not one person had questioned Amanda's story. Then my phone rang. Christine, my ex-wife. My heart sank. We had a decent co-parenting relationship mostly, cordial, functional, but her voice when I answered was pure fury. What have you been telling our kids about my family? What? Nothing. What are you talking about? Sophie came home crying today, Damien. Crying. She said Grandma told her that Daddy doesn't love them anymore. Jackson told me that Aunt Amanda said you were trying to hurt the family. What is going on? I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. They said what? Don't play dumb. They're 8 and 6 years old. They're terrified. They think you hate your own family, which means you must hate us too. Christine, that's not what's happening. Amanda stole $50,000 from me. I stopped payment on the card, and now they're turning everyone against me, including our kids. Oh, please. $50,000? You expect me to believe your sister stole $50,000 and nobody noticed? I have the statements. I can show you. I don't want to see your statements. I want you to figure out whatever drama you've got going on with your family and keep it away from my children. Our children. Do you understand me? I'm not the one who talked to them. Your mother and Amanda did that. Stop making excuses. Stop playing the victim. Just stop. She hung up. I stood there holding my phone, feeling like the world was tilting. They'd gotten to my kids, poisoned Jackson and Sophie against me, made them think their father was some kind of monster. 10 minutes later, an email came through. From Christine's lawyer. The subject line read, "Emergency custody hearing." I opened it with shaking hands. Christine was filing for full custody, citing my unstable behavior, my conflict with extended family, and concerns about my mental state creating a hostile environment for the children. The hearing was scheduled for the following Tuesday, 4 days away. I called my divorce lawyer, Tom Sanders, left a voicemail begging him to call me back, sent him the email. Then I sat down on my couch and put my head in my hands. I'd tried to stop being stolen from. That's all I'd done. Set a boundary, said no, and in response, my family had declared war. They were going to take my kids, destroy my relationship with Jackson and Sophie, make me into something I wasn't. And the worst part? I didn't know how to fight back. Every move I made seemed to make things worse. Every time I tried to defend myself, they twisted it into more ammunition against me. I looked at my phone. At the family group chat that had started all this, Mom's message was still there. You and your kids just make things awkward. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was the problem. Maybe I should have just kept my mouth shut and let Amanda steal from me. Let them use me. Let them walk all over me. At least then I'd still have my kids. The weekend passed in a blur of anxiety. Tom Sanders, my lawyer, finally called me back Saturday morning. I explained everything. The credit card fraud, the family's reaction, Christine's emergency custody filing. Okay, slow down, Tom said. Let's deal with one thing at a time. The custody hearing is Tuesday. We need to prepare. Bring all your credit card statements. Any communication with your sister about the venue, anything that shows you were reasonable and she was stealing. Will that be enough? It should be. Christine's filing is based on you being unstable, but you're not. You're responding appropriately to being defrauded. The judge will see that. I wanted to believe him. Tuesday morning, I put on my best suit, the one I wore to close big deals. I wanted to look stable, responsible, like the father I was. I drove to the courthouse 45 minutes early, too nervous to wait at home. The hallway outside the courtroom was cold, institutional. I sat on a bench reviewing my documents for the 100th time when Christine arrived with her lawyer, a sharp-looking woman in her 50s named Barbara Klein. Christine wouldn't look at me. Then I saw my mother walk in. She spotted me, and her face twisted with disgust. She sat on a bench near Christine, and they spoke in low voices. My own mother was here to testify against me. When they called us into the courtroom, my hands were sweating. Judge Morrison was a woman in her 60s with steel-gray hair and reading glasses. She reviewed the emergency petition while we all sat in silence. Miss Klein, you may present your case. Barbara Klein stood. Your Honor, we're here today because Mr. Fletcher has demonstrated increasingly erratic and concerning behavior that is creating an unsafe environment for his children. She laid out the case. How I'd suddenly withdrawn financial support from my family. How I'd created conflict right before my sister's wedding. How I'd been sending hostile messages. How the children had come home frightened and confused. The children have reported that their grandfather's memory is being disrespected by their father's actions, that family gatherings have become hostile, that they feel caught in the middle of adult conflicts they don't understand. I listened, getting angrier by the second. None of that was true. I defended myself. That's all. Then Barbara dropped the bomb. Your Honor, I'd like to submit evidence of Mr. Fletcher's threatening behavior. She handed documents to the judge and to Tom. I looked at my copy, screenshots of text messages, from my number to Amanda. I'll destroy your wedding and make you pay. You and Mom will regret crossing me. I'm coming for everything you have. I stared at those words, my phone number, my contact photo. But I'd never sent those messages, never written those words. Your Honor, Barbara continued, I also have audio evidence. She played a recording. My voice, or something that sounded exactly like my voice, saying terrible things about Christine, saying I never wanted kids, calling Sophie a mistake, saying Jackson was too much like his mother, weak and whiny. I wanted to throw up. I'd never said any of those things, never even thought them, but that was my voice. How was that my voice? Judge Morrison looked at me over her glasses. Mr. Fletcher, did you send these messages? No, Your Honor. I never sent those. Did you make these statements about your children? Absolutely not. I would never say those things. I love my kids more than anything. Tom stood. Your Honor, my client denies sending these messages or making these statements. We'd like to request a forensic analysis of this evidence. Request noted, Judge Morrison said. However, given the serious nature of these allegations and the audio recording, I'm granting a temporary order. Mr. Fletcher, you will have supervised visitation only, 4 hours per week, pending a full investigation. My world collapsed. 4 hours, one afternoon. And supervised, meaning someone would watch me with my own kids like I was a danger to them. Your Honor, please, I said. I didn't do any of this. Someone is framing me. Mr. Fletcher, I understand this is difficult, but until we can verify the authenticity of this evidence, I need to prioritize the children's safety. We'll reconvene in 30 days for a full hearing. The gavel came down. I walked out of that courtroom in a daze. Tom was talking to me, saying something about appeals and investigations, but I couldn't hear him. Christine hurried past without looking at me, but my mother stopped right in front of me. She leaned in close and whispered, You should have just kept your mouth shut and paid for the wedding. Then she walked away, actually smiling. I stood there in the courthouse hallway and understood. This wasn't random. This wasn't just Amanda being vindictive. They'd planned this, coordinated it. The fake messages, the fake audio, the custody attack, all of it designed to destroy me. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about those audio recordings. My voice, but not my words. How was that possible? I pulled out my laptop and started researching. AI voice cloning, deepfakes, audio synthesis. The technology existed. It wasn't even that complicated anymore. You just needed clean audio samples and the right software. Then I remembered something. I pulled up Derek's social media, Amanda's fiancé, the man I'd never really gotten to know. His profile said he worked in audio production. I scrolled through his posts. There were projects he'd worked on, demo reels, and then I found it. A post from 6 months ago. Just finished an amazing project using AI voice synthesis. The future of audio production is here. Derek had created the fake evidence. I was sure of it. He had the skills, the access to my voice from family videos, the motive to help Amanda. But how could I prove it? And even if I could, who would believe me now? Wednesday morning, I tried to focus on work. I had a major deal closing. A client named Richard Harrison had been working with me for 3 months to find the perfect office building for his expanding tech startup. The building we'd found was ideal. 10,000 square feet in a great location. The commission would be $87,000. Money I desperately needed now, with legal fees piling up and supervised visitation requiring paid monitors. I was reviewing the closing documents when my phone rang. Mr. Harrison. Richard, good morning. I was just going through I'm terminating our agreement, Damien. The words hit me like cold water. What? Why? I don't do business with people who abuse their family. His voice was cold, distant, not the friendly client I'd spent months working with. I don't understand. What are you talking about? I received some information about you. Messages you sent to your sister. Audio recordings. I have a daughter, Damien. The way you talked about your own kids? That's disgusting. I want nothing to do with you. Richard, please. Those aren't real. Someone fabricated. He hung up. I sat there staring at my phone. Someone had sent the fake evidence to my clients. This wasn't just about destroying my family relationships. They were coming after my career. Over the next 2 days, it got worse. 3 more clients called to terminate their agreements. All of them had received anonymous emails with the fake text messages and audio recordings. All of them wanted nothing to do with me. My broker's license could be at risk if clients started filing complaints. My reputation, built over 12 years in commercial real estate, was being systematically destroyed. Thursday afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number again. Damien Fletcher speaking. Mr. Fletcher, this is Ronald Brennan. I'm the attorney handling your late father's estate. Dad. I'd been so consumed with the current crisis I'd barely thought about the probate process still grinding along 18 months after his death. Yes, Mr. Brennan. Is everything okay? We need to discuss your inheritance distribution. Can you come to my office tomorrow? Of course. Is something wrong? It's better if we discuss this in person. Would 10 o'clock work? I agreed and hung up, a new knot of anxiety forming in my stomach. Friday morning, I drove to Mr. Brennan's office in downtown. He was a man in his 60s with kind eyes and a careful way of speaking. He gestured for me to sit. Damien, I'm going to be direct with you. Your sister Amanda has filed a petition to contest your father's will. What? She's claiming that your father had dementia when he revised his will 2 years ago, that he didn't know what he was signing. She's seeking to have you removed as a beneficiary and to redistribute your share between herself and your brother Craig. I felt dizzy. Dad didn't have dementia. He was sharp until the end. I know. I met with him several times during that period. He was entirely competent. But Amanda has hired a lawyer, and your mother is supporting her petition. They're claiming you manipulated him when he was vulnerable. How much is at stake? Your father's estate is worth approximately $1.2 million. Split 3 ways. That's $400,000 each. If Amanda succeeds, you'd receive nothing. $400,000. Money that could solve all my current problems. Money Dad had wanted me to have. And Amanda was trying to take that too. There's something else, Mr. Brennan said. His face was grave. I've been going through your father's financial records, doing my due diligence as executor. I found something disturbing. He slid a folder across the desk. Inside were bank statements. I recognized Dad's account numbers. Your mother had power of attorney during your father's final year. These statements show a series of large transfers from your father's accounts to accounts in Amanda's name. $230,000, moved over the course of 8 months, right before he died. I stared at the numbers. They stole from him? It certainly appears that way. The timing is suspicious. The amounts are significant. And none of these transfers were mentioned in any family discussions about the estate. So Amanda's wedding debt, the money she spent, may have been your father's money that was taken improperly. Yes, I sat back in my chair. The picture was becoming clear. Amanda had stolen from Dad while he was dying, burned through the money, then needed more, so she started using my credit card. When I cut her off, she orchestrated this entire attack to destroy me and take my inheritance too. What can we do? I asked. I'm going to oppose the petition vigorously. Your father's will was properly executed. I have notes from our meetings showing his competence. And now we have evidence of financial impropriety on your mother and sister's part. This actually strengthens your position. I thanked him and left. But instead of feeling relieved, I felt worse. My mother and sister had stolen from my dying father, used him, and when he was gone, they'd turned on me. I was driving home when my phone rang. Christine, what now? I didn't mean to sound so bitter, but I was done pretending. Damien, I just got a call from my custody lawyer. Great. What did I supposedly do now? The credit card company pressed charges against Amanda for fraud. It's all over the news. There's going to be a criminal trial. I pulled over to the side of the road. I didn't ask them to do that. I know. Barbara looked into it. Apparently, when fraud goes over $50,000, they automatically pursue criminal charges. It's company policy. Okay, Damien, is it true? Did she really steal that much from you? Yes, Christine. She stole over $50,000. Then she told me my kids and I weren't welcome at her wedding, so I stopped payment. That's all I did. Silence on the line. Why didn't you explain this better in court? Because your lawyer wouldn't let me talk. Because the judge saw fake evidence that made me look like a monster. Because nobody wanted to hear my side. More silence. Then, I need to think about this. She hung up. I sat in my car on the side of the road and realized I'd hit rock bottom. My business was destroyed. My inheritance was being challenged. I couldn't see my kids except 4 hours a week with a supervisor watching. My family had turned everyone against me, and the woman I'd once loved enough to marry thought I was a monster. All because I'd said no. Because I'd stood up for myself. Because I'd refused to keep being stolen from. Maybe Aunt Marie was right. Maybe I should have just paid for the wedding and kept my mouth shut. At least then I'd still have my life. The supervised visitation took place at a neutral location, a sad little room in a family services building with old toys and uncomfortable chairs. A woman named Mrs. Chen sat in the corner with a clipboard, watching my every move with Jackson and Sophie. Sophie wouldn't look at me. She sat in a chair by the window, arms crossed, staring outside. Jackson at least acknowledged my presence, but he was different, guarded, distant. Hey, buddy. How's school? Fine. Did you finish that science project you were telling me about? Yeah. I tried for 30 minutes to break through the wall they'd built. Mrs. Chen made notes on her clipboard. Every question I asked, every attempt at connection, documented and analyzed. Finally, Sophie spoke. Dad, why are you mad at Grandma? My heart broke. I'm not mad at Grandma, sweetheart. She says you are. She says you're trying to hurt Aunt Amanda. That's not true. Grown-ups had a disagreement about money. Aunt Amanda says you're mean now, that you changed after you and Mommy got divorced. I looked at Mrs. Chen. She gave me a slight nod, permission to continue. Sophie, Jackson, I need you both to know something. I love you more than anything in the world. Nothing that's happening with the family changes that. Not ever. Sophie finally looked at me. Her eyes were full of confusion and pain. Then why can't we just see you normal? Why does Mrs. Chen have to watch us? Because some people told the judge things about me that weren't true. But we're going to fix it. I promise. The 4 hours felt like forever and no time at all. When Mrs. Chen said our time was up, Sophie hugged me briefly. Jackson gave me an awkward high five. Then they left with their mother, and I sat alone in that room, trying not to cry. My financial situation was critical. I'd lost 4 major clients. My credit cards were maxed from legal fees. The mortgage on my apartment was due, and I didn't have enough to cover it. My credit score had tanked. The fraud investigation on the card meant those charges were frozen, but so was my available credit. I was 2 weeks away from having nothing. That night, sitting in my empty apartment, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Is this Damien Fletcher? Yes. My name is Harper Sullivan. You don't know me, but I know Derek Carmichael. I heard what they're doing to you. We need to talk. Who are you? I'm Derek's ex-girlfriend. I dated him for 3 years. He did to me exactly what he's doing to you now. Please, meet me tomorrow. I can help. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop across town, somewhere I wouldn't run into anyone I knew. Harper was in her early 30s, professional-looking, with tired eyes that suggested she'd been through her own kind of hell. Thank you for meeting me, she said, glancing around nervously. You said Derek did this to you too? Not exactly the same, but similar. When I tried to leave him, he went nuclear, created fake evidence, texts I never sent, emails supposedly from my account. He even made audio recordings of me supposedly saying terrible things about my daughter from my previous marriage. My blood went cold, just like what he did to me. I lost my job. My ex-husband filed for full custody and won. It took me 2 years to rebuild my life. And Derek just moved on to his next victim. Amanda. Maybe. Or maybe she's working with him. I don't know. Harper pulled out a laptop from her bag. When Derek and I lived together, before everything went bad, I had access to his computer. I made copies of some files. I probably shouldn't have, but something told me I'd need them. She opened folders. Inside were audio files, video projects, software programs I'd never heard of, tutorials on voice synthesis, practice projects where Derek had cloned celebrities' voices, proof that he had the capability to create the fake evidence. There's more. She clicked to another folder. Text messages between Derek and Amanda. Screenshots going back 7 months, before they'd announced their engagement. I read them, feeling sick. Derek. Your brother sounds like an easy mark. Rich, divorced, guilty about family. Perfect. Amanda. He'll do anything if Mom asks. I just need to play the struggling bride card. Derek. How much do you think we can get? Amanda. At least 50,000. Maybe more if we're smart about it. They planned this, I whispered. From the beginning, Harper said. Derek's done this before, not just with me. There are at least 3 other women I know of. He meets someone with money or connections, gains their trust, then takes everything he can, and destroys anyone who gets in the way. Can I use this in court? This is proof. Harper's face fell. That's the problem. I got these files by accessing Derek's computer when we lived together. A lawyer told me they might not be admissible. The chain of custody is questionable. And if Derek claims they're fake, it's my word against his. But there has to be something we can do with this. I'm willing to testify about Derek's capabilities, about what he did to me. But Damien, you need to know something. Derek threatened me when I left. Badly. I had to move. Change my phone number. I've been looking over my shoulder for 2 years. If I come forward now, he'll come after me again. I looked at this woman who'd suffered so much because of the same man who was destroying my life. I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking. I'm offering. But we need to be smart about this. We need solid evidence that will hold up in court, not just screenshots that could be dismissed. I thanked Harper and took copies of everything she had. That night, I called Tom Sanders and explained what I'd found. Tom reviewed the materials. This is explosive, Damien, but Harper's right. The evidence chain is problematic, and Derek's a professional in this field. He can claim these files are manipulated. It could backfire. So what do I do? Let me talk to some people. See if we can get a forensic analysis of the original audio files from Christine's lawyer. If we can prove they're fake, Harper's evidence becomes corroborating rather than primary. But don't get your hopes up. This is going to be hard to fight. Against Tom's advice, I sent everything to Christine. All of Harper's screenshots, the proof of Derek's capabilities, an explanation of what had really happened. I wrote, I know you don't believe me. I know I sound crazy. But please, just look at this. Our kids deserve to know the truth about who their father really is. 2 days later, I got a response. From Christine's lawyer, not Christine herself. Mr. Fletcher, your continued attempts to contact my client regarding unsubstantiated conspiracy theories constitute harassment. You are in violation of the court's communication order. Any further contact will be reported to the judge. Additionally, we are filing a motion to suspend your visitation entirely pending psychiatric evaluation. My hands shook as I read it. I'd tried to show Christine the truth, and it had been twisted into proof that I was unstable, that I was dangerous. The motion was filed the next day. The hearing was scheduled for the following week. They were going to take away even my 4 hours. I wouldn't see my kids at all. I sat alone in my apartment, looking at the eviction notice that had been taped to my door. 3 days to pay or vacate. I had $900 in my bank account. The rent was $2,300. Everything I'd tried to do to defend myself had made things worse. Every piece of evidence I'd found had been used against me. Every ally I'd tried to reach out to had been turned into another weapon pointed at my head. I'd lost my family, my career, my money, my home, my kids, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. I didn't get out of bed for 3 days, let my phone die, didn't eat, just lay there staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out how everything had gone so wrong so fast. On the 3rd day, someone pounded on my door. I ignored it. They pounded again. Then my phone, which I'd finally plugged in, started ringing. Mr. Brennan, my father's attorney. Damien, I've been trying to reach you for 2 days. Where are you? Home. I'm outside your building. Let me up. I found something. You need to see this immediately. I buzzed him in. Answered the door in sweatpants and a 3-day-old shirt. He took one look at me and his expression softened. Get dressed. We're going to my office. This can't wait. 30 minutes later, I was sitting across from him, coffee in hand, trying to focus. I've been going through your father's personal papers, Mr. Brennan said. Not just financial records. Everything. Letters, journals, notes. Your father was meticulous, Damien, especially in his final months. He opened a leather-bound journal. My father's handwriting, shaky but legible. He knew his mind was failing, the early stages of dementia, but he also had moments of clarity, and in those moments, he documented everything. Mr. Brennan turned pages. Entries dated from 2 years ago. My father writing about noticing money missing from accounts, about questioning my mother, about her explanations that didn't make sense, about catching Amanda in lies. One entry, dated 3 months before his death. I see it now. They're taking the money. Both of them. They think I don't notice, but I do. Some days I forget. But today, I remember everything. I need to protect Damien. He's the only one who hasn't stolen from me. Another entry. Changed my will today. Made sure Damien gets his full share. They'll try to take it from him. They'll say I didn't know what I was doing. But I know. I know exactly what I'm doing. This diary is my proof. These are my words, in my hand, from my mind. Let them try to take it. I couldn't speak. Tears were running down my face. My father had known. He'd seen what they were, and he'd tried to protect me from beyond the grave. This changes everything, Mr. Brennan said. We can use this to defeat Amanda's petition. Your father's own words, documenting his mental competence and his awareness of the theft. It's proof he knew exactly what he was doing when he wrote his will. Will the court accept it? Absolutely. It's dated, it's in his handwriting, and it directly addresses the claims Amanda is making. We'll have a handwriting expert verify authenticity, but I have no doubt it's genuine. For the first time in weeks, I felt a spark of hope. That afternoon, more news came. The credit card company's fraud investigation had concluded. They determined all charges were unauthorized. Every cent was being reversed. And because of the amount and the deliberate deception, they were pressing criminal charges against Amanda. The prosecution was automatic for amounts over $50,000. The case was moving forward whether I cooperated or not. 2 days later, Amanda's carefully constructed world started to collapse. The wedding was supposed to be that Saturday, but with the venue canceled, no money to pay for a new one, and criminal fraud charges pending, Derek called it off, via text message. I can't do this anymore. It's over. Amanda's response was public. She posted a complete meltdown on social media. Dozens of posts, each more unhinged than the last. My brother destroyed my life. My fiancé left me. Everything is ruined. But then she made a critical mistake. In her rage, she posted, My brother stole money from our father's accounts. He manipulated Dad when he was dying. He's the thief, not me. Except that wasn't what happened. She had it backwards. And the timestamps on her posts didn't match the actual timeline of events. Extended family members who'd been supporting her started questioning the story. One of my father's old friends, a retired accountant named Gerald Morrison, saw the posts. He called Mr. Brennan. I helped Carl with his finances, Gerald told us in a conference call. I know about the missing money. I warned him about it, told him to confront Eleanor and Amanda. He did. They denied everything. but Carl documented all of it. He asked me to be a witness if anything happened. I'll testify. Gerald had bank statements, transfer records, proof that my mother had moved $230,000 from my father's accounts to Amanda's, evidence that matched exactly what my father had written in his diary. The probate court scheduled an emergency hearing. Amanda's petition to contest the will was falling apart before it even began. Then Christine called. Her voice was different, uncertain. Damien, my cousin, works at the courthouse. She saw the criminal fraud charges against Amanda. The amount, the evidence. She told me about it. Okay, I didn't know it was that much. I didn't know about the diary. I didn't know any of it. I tried to tell you. I know. I got the custody hearing transcript. I read it again, really read it. And then I looked up Derek online. I found a blog post from a woman named Harper Sullivan. My heart jumped. You found Harper? She wrote about what Derek did to her. The fake evidence. The voice cloning. Damien, I think I made a terrible mistake. You think? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was angry about the divorce still. I wanted to believe you were the problem. I didn't question anything. I just assumed. You assumed I was a monster. Yes, and I was wrong. We talked for 2 hours. I explained everything. Showed her the diary entries Mr. Brennan had sent me. Showed her Gerald's evidence. Showed her the timeline of how Derek and Amanda had planned this from the beginning. Christine cried. What have I done to our kids? They think their father is a terrible person. I helped them think that. We can fix it. But I need you to help me fix it. Anything. Tell me what to do. The same day, more dominoes fell. Craig, my brother, had been silent through all of this. But Mr. Brennan found something in my father's papers, an earlier version of the will. From 4 years ago, in that version, Craig was set to inherit $600,000, the largest share, Dad's favorite son. But in the final version, Craig only got $300,000, the same as Amanda, and Damien's share had been increased to $400,000. Mr. Brennan dug deeper, found evidence that Craig had stolen $20,000 from Dad 3 years ago, took out a loan in Dad's name and never paid it back. When Dad discovered it, he changed the will, cut Craig's inheritance in half, and gave the difference to me. Craig had known about this, had been furious about it, and when Amanda started her scheme, he joined in, helped coordinate the attack on me, hoping that if I was disgraced and removed from the will, his share would increase. I found text messages on Amanda's phone, which the police had seized as part of the fraud investigation, messages between Craig and Amanda. Craig, just keep pushing. Get him to snap. We need him to look unstable. Amanda. Derek's working on the audio. It'll sound perfect. Craig. Once he loses custody, we can get Mom to file a competency challenge. Say he's too mentally unstable to handle an inheritance. They'd planned every step, every attack, all coordinated, all designed to destroy me and take everything I had. Mr. Brennan filed civil suits against both Craig and Amanda for conspiracy to defraud. Craig tried to fight it, but the evidence was overwhelming. His own messages, his own words. In the end, he settled. Gave up his entire inheritance. All $300,000 went to me instead. In exchange, we wouldn't press criminal charges against him. Derek, meanwhile, was being investigated. Not just for what he'd done to me. Harper came forward officially. So did 2 other women. 3 victims, all with similar stories. Fake evidence. Voice cloning. Systematic harassment. The district attorney's office opened an investigation into Derek for identity theft, fraud, and harassment. While they couldn't arrest him without stronger evidence, his reputation was destroyed. His audio production business collapsed. Clients dropped him. He ended up leaving town entirely. Amanda pleaded guilty to the fraud charges. The prosecutor offered a deal, 18 months probation, full restitution of $50,000, and 200 hours of community service. She took it. A criminal record, but no jail time. My mother faced embezzlement charges for taking money from my father's estate. $230,000. She also took a plea deal, 2 years probation and full repayment to the estate. The money would come from her share of the inheritance, which was separate from what Dad left to his kids. Both of them had criminal records now. Both of them had to repay the money they'd stolen, and both of them lost the family's respect. Even the aunts and uncles who'd condemned me were disgusted when they learned the truth. The emergency custody hearing was canceled. Christine filed a motion to restore my full custody rights. She testified that she'd been misled by false evidence, that she'd acted too hastily, that she regretted not investigating properly. The judge was furious that false evidence had been presented in his courtroom. He ordered a formal investigation into how the fake texts and audio had been created and who had submitted them. Barbara Klein, Christine's lawyer, claimed she'd been given the evidence by Amanda and had trusted it was authentic. The judge wasn't entirely satisfied with that answer, but he let it go. My full custody was restored immediately. Actually, the judge went further. He awarded me primary custody based on Christine's acknowledgement that she'd acted improperly. She agreed this was fair. Supervised visitation was removed. We went back to our normal co-parenting schedule, but now I had the kids 60% of the time instead of 50-50. 1 month after the criminal proceedings ended, I sat in a courtroom for the final probate hearing. Amanda's petition to contest the will had been withdrawn. The judge had reviewed my father's diary, Gerald's testimony, and all the evidence of theft. It's clear that Carl Fletcher knew exactly what he was doing when he executed his final will, Judge Morrison said. The diary entries demonstrate mental competence, awareness of his circumstances, and deliberate intent. Furthermore, the evidence of financial impropriety by the petitioners strengthens rather than weakens the validity of his decisions. The will stands as written. The estate was finally closed. With Craig's forfeited share and the recovery of the embezzled money, I received $650,000 after legal fees. Financial security for the first time since my divorce. More importantly, I had my kids back. That first overnight after everything was resolved, Jackson and Sophie were nervous. We ordered pizza and sat on the couch together. "I need to talk to you both about what happened," I said. They looked at me with those wide, uncertain eyes. Grandma and Aunt Amanda made some very bad choices. They lied about me. They said things that weren't true, and for a while it seemed like they were going to win. But they didn't. Because the truth always comes out eventually. Sophie's eyes filled with tears. "I thought you didn't love us anymore." I pulled her close. "Sophie, I will always love you. Nothing in this world could ever change that. Not Grandma's lies. Not anything. You and Jackson are the most important people in my life." Jackson, trying to be brave, said, "We're sorry we believed them, Dad." "Don't be sorry. You're kids. You're supposed to trust the adults in your life. This wasn't your fault. The adults failed you. I should have protected you better from all of this. But you did protect us," Jackson said. "You fought back. You proved they were lying. And that's what I want you to remember. When someone treats you badly, when someone lies about you, you stand up for yourself. You don't let them win. Even when it's hard. Even when it seems impossible, you fight for the truth." We talked for hours that night. About trust, about family, about how blood doesn't always mean love and love doesn't always mean blood. They asked questions. Hard questions about their grandmother, about their aunt, about why people they loved had hurt their father. I answered honestly, age-appropriately, but honestly. They deserved that. My business slowly recovered. Mr. Harrison, the first client I'd lost, called 3 months later. "I owe you an apology, Damien. A huge one. I should have talked to you before believing anonymous emails. Thank you for saying that. I'd like to work with you again. If you'll have me." I closed the office building deal. That $87,000 commission came through. Other clients returned. Some didn't, but new ones came. My reputation rebuilt itself, stronger than before, because now people knew I was someone who stood up for himself, who didn't let others walk over him. The extended family was divided. About half reached out to apologize. Aunts and uncles who'd condemned me admitted they'd been wrong. They'd believed Amanda's social media posts without asking questions. I forgave some of them. Others, I kept at arm's length. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean letting people who hurt you have access to hurt you again. Some family members made excuses, claimed they'd been misled, that they'd had no way of knowing. I was polite to them but clear about boundaries. I understand you were misled, I'd say. But you also chose not to ask for my side. You chose to believe the worst without evidence. That tells me something about our relationship. And while I forgive you, things between us won't be the same. My mother never apologized, not once. Even after her criminal conviction, even after repaying the money, she insisted she'd done nothing wrong, that I'd destroyed the family, that everything was my fault for not just paying for Amanda's wedding. I cut contact completely, blocked her number, blocked her on social media. I told Jackson and Sophie, gently, that Grandma had made choices that meant we couldn't see her anymore, that sometimes, even people we love can hurt us so badly that we have to protect ourselves by stepping away. They understood better than I'd expected. Kids are resilient. They're also smart. They'd seen enough to know their grandmother wasn't safe. Amanda sent a letter 6 months later, written as part of her mandated counseling. It wasn't quite an apology, more of an explanation. She admitted Derek had manipulated her, that she'd been greedy, that she'd convinced herself I owed her something because she was struggling and I had a career. I know sorry isn't enough, she wrote. I destroyed your life because I wanted a fancy wedding, because I felt entitled to your money. I can't take that back. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. What I did, who I became. I read the letter twice, put it in a drawer. Maybe someday I'd respond. Maybe someday I'd be ready to have a relationship with her again. But not today, not this year, maybe not ever. And I was okay with that. Christine and I never got back together. That ship had sailed. But we became real co-parents, partners in raising our kids. She'd apologized 100 times for believing the lies, for not investigating, for almost taking my kids away. I was so angry about the divorce, she admitted. I wanted you to be the villain. So when your family gave me a villain story, I grabbed it. I'm sorry, Damien. I'm so sorry. I forgive you. But you need to forgive yourself too. We both made mistakes in our marriage. We both contributed to the divorce. What matters now is that we do better for Jackson and Sophie. We actually became friends. Real friends. We'd text about the kids, sure, but also about life, about work, about the little things. It was strange and wonderful to discover that the person I'd once loved enough to marry could become the person I trusted most to have my back. 6 months after everything ended, I moved into a new apartment, nicer neighborhood, 3 bedrooms, so Jackson and Sophie each had their own space. I used some of the inheritance money for a down payment. The rest I invested carefully, following advice from a financial planner. The kids were thriving. Jackson joined the school basketball team. Sophie started taking art classes. They did well in school. They laughed. They played. They were just kids again, not pawns in an adult war. I started dating someone, a woman named Rachel I'd met at a client's open house. She was kind, patient, and understood that my kids came first. We took things slow, no pressure, just seeing where it might go. But mostly, I focused on myself and my kids, on building a life that felt safe, stable, true. One Saturday morning, about 8 months after the final court hearing, I made pancakes for Jackson and Sophie. They sat at the kitchen counter, syrup everywhere, talking over each other about their plans for the day. Dad, can we go to the park? Sophie asked. Can Tyler come over tonight for video games? Jackson added. My phone buzzed. A notification. Someone had re-added me to the family group chat. I looked at the screen, saw Amanda had posted something, some plea for sympathy or attention. I stared at that notification for a moment. Then I deleted the entire conversation, blocked everyone in it, turned back to my kids. Park sounds perfect. And yes, Tyler can come over. Sophie hugged me. Jackson gave me a high five. Normal, beautiful, everyday moments. This was what mattered. Not revenge, not vindication, just peace. I thought about everything I'd been through. The text message that started it all. The fraud, the custody battle, the fake evidence, the systematic destruction of my life, and how I'd fought back. Not with anger or cruelty, but with truth, with evidence, with standing firm in who I knew myself to be. I'd learned something important through all of it. Family isn't determined by blood. It's determined by love, respect, and trust. Some people will try to tear you down. Sometimes those people share your DNA. You can't control their choices. You can only control your response. Standing up for yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. Setting boundaries isn't cruel. It's self-preservation. The people who truly love you will understand. The people who don't weren't worth keeping anyway. My father had known this. That's why he'd protected me in his will. That's why he'd documented everything. One final gift from beyond the grave. The truth. The validation that I wasn't crazy. That I wasn't wrong. That I was worth protecting. I looked at Jackson and Sophie. Syrup on their faces. Arguing about whether chocolate chip or blueberry pancakes were better. This was my family. This was what I'd fought for, and it was worth every painful moment. Sometimes the hardest person to fight for is yourself, but you're worth fighting for. And when you stand up, when you refuse to be a victim, when you choose your own peace over others' approval, that's when you truly win, not because they lost, but because you finally found yourself. We finished breakfast, got ready, walked to the park holding hands. The sun was shining. Sophie was singing some song from school. Jackson was telling me about a funny video he'd seen. Ordinary moments, precious moments. I was free from the toxicity, free from the manipulation, free from the guilt and the obligation and the endless demands. I was building my own family, on my own terms. And for the first time in years, I was truly, completely at peace. Now I want to ask you something. Have you ever had to stand up to family members who tried to take advantage of you? How did you handle it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, if it reminded you that you're worth fighting for, please hit that like button. Subscribe to hear more stories about real people overcoming real challenges. And share this with someone who might need to hear that it's okay to set boundaries, even with family. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps you remember that choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. And sometimes, the family you build is better than the family you were born into. Take care of yourselves out there. You're worth it.